Bermuda Triangle, the disappearance of the USS Cyclops, 1918. One of the largest disappearances in U.S. naval history, 309 people. No distress signal, no wreckage found. In the annals of maritime mystery, the story of the USS Cyclops stands as a chilling testament to the power, unpredictability, and allure of the sea. It is a story woven into the very heart of the legend of the Bermuda Triangle, a triangle formed on the map by the points of Miami, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico, where ships and planes are said to vanish without trace, and explanations are as elusive as the currents beneath the waves. The tale of the Cyclops is not only one of the greatest mysteries of the Triangle, it is also one of the most profound losses in United States naval history. In March of 1918, as the world was engulfed in the turmoil of the First World War, a call came out for ships. Big ships, powerful ships capable of moving the essential materials of war. The Cyclops was just such a ship, a vast, steel-hulled colossus stretching over 540 feet from bow to stern, with its engines humming and its holds empty and waiting to be filled. It was built to serve, to carry mountains of coal across oceans, but it was more than a coal carrier in war. In the spring of 1918, she was refitted for another vital task. Loaded with tens of thousands of tons of manganese ore, a crucial material for hardening steel for weapons and warships, the Cyclops set sail from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. The world was at war, and it was expected in Baltimore, Maryland, with her precious cargo, her immense holds filled with the burden of hope and the tools of conflict. On board were 309 souls, officers, enlisted men, a handful of civilians. They were a cross-section of American life in that tumultuous year, from seasoned sailors to young recruits who had never left their home ports before the war summoned them. As the Cyclops slipped away from the long stretch of Brazilian coastline and into the open Atlantic, spirits among the crew were a curious mix of expectation and unease. Wartime seas were perilous and unpredictable, but no one could have imagined the fate awaiting them. March 4th, 1918, her last confirmed sighting was in the harbor of Barbados. She left that tropical island under the command of Lieutenant Commander George Worley, heading north towards Baltimore. The world expected Cyclops to appear as scheduled in American waters, but days stretched into weeks and news never came. Then, quietly but forcefully, the Cyclops did not arrive. She had been swallowed by the Atlantic, leaving behind only questions. No distress signal was received. Not a single crewman signaled for help. Not a trace of wreckage surfaced, floating on the swell. The Cyclops, with her enormous steel hull, her weight in manganese ore, and the lives of 309 men and women aboard, had vanished as though erased by a giant hand. It was, even then, the single largest non-combat loss of life in the history of the U.S. Navy, a record that has haunted naval annals ever since. News of the disappearance spread quickly through the military and the country. Families waited, first in anxious hope, then in mourning. The United States government launched the largest peacetime search in its history, dispatching warships and merchant vessels to comb the sea lanes between Barbados and Baltimore. They searched for wreckage, for life rafts, for anything that might speak of the Cyclops' fate, but they found nothing. The route she traveled was carefully reconstructed, the currents and prevailing winds plotted and analyzed, but the ocean gave up no evidence. Attempts to contact other ships that might have passed her failed to produce any leads. The Cyclops and her 309 souls were simply gone. And within the void left by her absence, stories and speculation began to grow. The waters between Florida and Bermuda, Puerto Rico and the Bahamas, had always been considered uncanny by sailors. The Triangle's infamy stretches back centuries, with whispered tales of ships lost, compasses gone wild, and violent, sudden storms. For the public and the press, the Cyclops' vanishing became the centerpiece of growing fascination with this gray patch of ocean, this so-called Devil's Triangle. Had she been drawn under by mysterious forces? Was there something wrong with the very fabric of natural law in those waters? Or could the cause be more prosaic, lost in the practical realities of war, weather, and the hazards of the sea? In examining the last days of the Cyclops, questions abound. Lieutenant Commander George Worley, the ship's captain, was by all accounts a strict and unyielding officer, with a reputation for both expertise and eccentricity. His leadership was sometimes questioned by subordinates, and rumors would swirl in later years about discontent among the crew. But could a mutiny really explain such a complete disappearance? And if so, why leave no trace? No raft, no drifting lifeboat, no SOS in the dark of night. Others considered the cargo she carried, for manganese is a particularly dense and heavy ore. The Cyclops, fully loaded, rode low in the water, her hull straining under the burden. Some suggested that structural failure, perhaps a crack opening beneath the pressure, could have doomed her. In such a scenario, the ship might have capsized and gone down almost instantly, offering her crew precious little time to react. The weather, too, was a factor. The North Atlantic is notorious for its tempests, and records from those days indicate that the Cyclops may have sailed into rough seas and high winds. Wartime reports noted storms sweeping across her path, sudden squalls that could batter even the largest vessel. Could she have foundered in a storm, overwhelmed before she could send a distress call? There were darker theories as well. In a world at war, German U-boats stalked the Atlantic, searching for easy prey among merchantmen and transports. Some speculated that Cyclops may have encountered one of these deadly submarines. Yet research into German naval logs has revealed no reports of an attack. The German High Command claimed never to have fired upon her, and it would seem contrary to U-boat practice to leave so immense a victim unclaimed and unreported. There were even stories of sabotage and espionage, born from the climate of suspicion and secrecy that pervaded both the U.S. military and the home front in 1918. Was there a traitor aboard the Cyclops? Did her disappearance serve some unknown plot? Still others looked deeper, beyond the realm of possibility and into the supernatural. The Bermuda Triangle holds an uneasy place in the imaginations of countless adventurers and dreamers, a place where the rules of nature and the certainties of human endeavor seem to unravel. There were whispers of gates in the sea, of magnetic anomalies, and of space-time distortions. Some suggested the Cyclops had entered another dimension, sent spiraling through some cosmic doorway, never to return. Yet for all the speculation, the fact remains: nothing was ever found. The United States Navy conducted multiple investigations in the years following the disaster. All concluded with the same unsatisfying result: reasons for disappearance unknown, no evidence to support any hypothesis. The Cyclops simply ceased to be. For the families of the 309 men and women lost, this uncertainty was perhaps the hardest legacy. No graves could be visited, no markers set on hill or field. The only memorial would be the Cyclops' name, inscribed on plaques and in memory, alongside the casualties of war who fell in battle, not in mystery. In the decades since, the story of the Cyclops has never ceased to capture the imagination. Writers, researchers, and amateur detectives have pored over naval records, cross-checked logs, and mapped the fatal stretch of ocean time and time again. Theories have evolved alongside new technologies. Could modern sonar, so far advanced beyond the depths of 1918, finally crack the case by surveying the seafloor? Would a remote-controlled submersible catch the glint of steel, the outline of a long-lost hull, buried now beneath silt and coral in the deep? No such discovery has yet been made. The Titanic, once believed lost forever, was eventually found at a depth of 2.5 miles, and yet the Cyclops remains missing, unaccounted for, more than a century later. Her story echoes with similarities to other disappearances of the Bermuda Triangle. Just a generation later, in the post-war years, Flight 19, a group of U.S. Navy bombers, disappeared without a trace on a training mission in the very same region, cementing the Triangle's reputation. And just as with the Cyclops, no wreckage, no survivors, and no clear explanation would be found. But the saga of the Cyclops stands apart for its sheer scale. 309 lives upended in an instant, the grid of coordinate and bearing yielding no comfort to those who loved them. The Cyclops represented the cutting edge of her era, the largest ship in her class, supposedly unsinkable in anything but the most extraordinary circumstances. The fact that she and her crew disappeared entirely, beyond the reach of expectation or understanding, is at the heart of what still draws us to the story. Why, after all these years, does the Bermuda Triangle, this swath of water less than half the size of the continental United States, hold such power over the mind? Perhaps it is because the sea itself is and always has been the last realm of mystery on our planet. We map the lands and chart the skies. We send rockets into the void and probe the smallest cells in laboratories. But beneath the surface of the ocean lies a darkness more complete, more unknowable than anything above. The ocean is both cradle and grave, holding secrets for centuries if it chooses. Shipwrecks from the ancient world appear on the sand hundreds, even thousands of feet beneath the waves, while others, like the Cyclops, simply refuse to be found. In all our technological sophistication, our satellites and submersibles, our endless quest for answers, the Cyclops defies us. Over the years, the legend of the Triangle has evolved from frightening reality to pop culture myth, with films, books, and documentaries spinning stories of vanishing vessels, ghost ships, and aquatic anomalies. The very idea of a Bermuda Triangle grew in prominence after the Cyclops' disappearance, stoked by the press and the popular imagination, despite the protestations of scientists and skeptics. Is there truly something different about that corner of the Atlantic, or does its reputation simply grow from the natural hazards faced by generations of sailors? Unpredictable storms, challenging navigation, and treacherous reefs. The rationalist will remind us that the Triangle's waters are some of the most heavily traveled in the world, that storms are common, currents are fierce, and human error more frequent than anyone wishes to admit. The romantic, meanwhile, will always peer into the chart room as the compass needle spins wildly and the wind howls, wondering if some secrets are meant to be left beneath the surface. For the families of the Cyclops crew, and for those who serve in the Navy today, the lessons of the Cyclops are rooted in humility. Even the largest ship, even the bravest crew, are not immune to the forces of nature, nor perhaps to accidents born of overconfidence or fatigue. The sea demands respect, and demands it absolutely. The names of those lost with the Cyclops are still read aloud at memorials. Their faces, grainy and sepia-toned, look out from yearbooks and family albums, frozen in the era of doughboys and war bonds. They are a reminder that every mystery at sea is a human tragedy, that behind the legend of the Triangle lies a stunned and grieving community. Perhaps someday the mystery will be solved. Maybe sonar or submersible will light upon the twisted steel remains nestled in a trough of the Atlantic, the answer written at last in the language of hull plates and barnacles. Until then, the Cyclops drifts through our imagination, a spectral ship with decks quiet and holds echoing, as elusive and enticing as the ocean itself. Her logbook closed somewhere south of Baltimore, her fate recorded in tides and currents. The USS Cyclops remains the greatest mystery of the Bermuda Triangle, and a solemn marker of those who set out into the unknown and never came home.